An unshielded Shadow Staraptor versus the Wild One-Wing attack takes care of Vigoroth. They enter the arena with Sableye. Sableye, not the bulkiest brave bird, is going to do huge damage. They get one shot with one-wing attack away from the close combat, and just like that, we see the first Shadow Staraptor sweep. So, welcome back to the channel. Today, we have some awesome battles where Staraptor is going to be booming absolutely everything. My good friend Hoan, aka Kaya Princess, has submitted some Shadow Staraptor double tank battles. On paper, this is a pretty standard ABB team with one flyer and two tanks in the back. You will see this team quite often with either Noctowl or Pelipper as the anti-fighter. However, Staraptor, due to being a part normal type and having absolutely no bulk, it isn't actually the best anti-fighter. But with that being said, Kaya Princess did manage to go on an insane run. So without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we see something else our backline really doesn't want to see. Swampert. Swampert eats both Stunfisk and Regi for breakfast, so Kaya is investing both his protect shields. He's now over farming, firing off the close combat. We really hope the opponent lets it go, and they do. So we're going to make an instant pivot into Regi. In comes Wallface. Despite Wallface, aka Bastion, having one protect shield to hide behind, this is not a matchup that they are going to appreciate. They have access to Flamethrower, but with non-stab, that does pretty much nothing to Regi. They did commit a shield on the Focus Blast. The opponent continues to stay in, so Regi is about to return them to their Pokeball, and this is why they stayed in. They've got a flyer in the back, and Jumpluff cannot hit Regi for anything other than resisted. Zap Cannon lands for big damage. We get the attack drop, and this game is looking absolutely over. The opponent fires off the energy ball. Regi shrugs it off, and the opponent concedes the match. We see the Nightmare lead in the next battle. Staraptor into Lantern. We really don't want to take any super effective moves, so we instantly pivot into Stunfisk. The opponent chips us with a Surf. They continue to stay in, so Kaya's going for the Rockslide bait. The opponent shields it up. Most Lantern are paired with a Flyer, so this is perhaps why they're staying in. They fire off one more Surf. It gets Stunfisk fairly low. The opponent attempts to catch an Earthquake onto Noctowl. However, Kaya is the king of the master bait as he was baiting. Once again, Rockslide lands for decent damage. We land Rockslide number 2, and this Noctowl is now deep in the red. Kaya has shield advantage, so we come in to Staraptor looking to farm down, build up some energy towards the nukes. The opponent fires the Shadow Ball. Staraptor is super glassy. However, if you see one, throw Sky Attack. The Shadow Ball is double resisted. The opponent sends back out Lantern. We draw the shield with the close combat, and it's now Regi up shields versus whatever they have in the back. The opponent stays in. We tank the Surf. Kaya goes straight for the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon is only neutral, and the opponent actually makes a savage catch onto their Venusaur. So it looks like the opponent was going for a BM, as obviously they're not a noob. They know how to count. They're probably thinking Staraptor shields everything, and they were correct. Regi fires off the Focus Blast. That gets Venusaur into the red. Kaya not shielding this Frenzy Plant. Won't KO, but we really need to make sure we don't get Spark down. Back out comes Lantern. They fire off on the CMP tie Surf. Will be returning the 1 health Regi to their Pokemon list. Staraptor versus Lantern. The opponent is going to have to make the back-to-back Surfs. We shield up the first. Staraptor makes the close combat and is about to be a Lantern counter confirmed. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see the most oppressive fighter of them all. This is dreadful. Kaya did actually tell me he misclicked here. He went to Stunfisk instead of Regi, and that is absolutely going to cost him, as Regi will only take neutral from the water damage, whereas Stunfisk takes huge super effective. He then goes for the bait, looking to try and get back in the game. The opponent calls the bait, and that's pretty much going to be all she wrote. Kaya desperately trying to flip switch. However, the opponent can easily let this go, counter us down, and then Machamp is absolutely going to sweep. The opponent takes their 2-0 shield advantage. They come in to Machamp for the counter farm down, and when shields are down, Shadow Machamp is absolutely going to go to town. Cross chop, one shots the squishy Staraptor, and we concede the match. So some points to note in that battle. If we would have went to Regi versus the Empoleon, both Zap Cannon and Focus Blast have huge one-shot potential. So rather than us double shielding in the mid-game, we would have been the ones putting pressure on the opponent, and the outcome could have been different. Another point to note is that Kaya doesn't get tilted. He gets his head back together. I know a lot of people, when they misplay, end up getting themselves into absolute shambles, but just take a deep breath, recover, and play the next one out. So getting back into the battles, We can see this Sableye is going to fire off the foul play. Regi survives on 1 HP and a dream. We fire off the close combat. We've regained switch advantage. Back out comes Pelipper. They wing attack farm us all the way down. We send back out Staraptor with residual energy. Good to go. Close combat would be resisted, but Pelipper, not the bulkiest. They have to respect the damage from this oppressive shadow Pokemon, and we now send out Stunfisk. Up shield Stunfisk versus the flying toilet. Pretty neutral. We do resist the wing attacks. However, these weather balls do add up as they come thick and fast. We get the last shield off the opponent. We've just got to be mindful now of the catch. So how I prevent the catch is I wait to see the wing attack animation start. Kaya doesn't do that and the opponent makes a savage catch, catching the rock slide on their own Stunfisk. However, this bear trap is unshielded, so Staraptor absolutely smelling blood. We shield up the rock side, over farm, fire off the close combat. Close combat is going to be one shot in Stunfisk. The opponent has to dump energies. We're only one wing attack away from the next close combat. We get taken out with a weather ball, and Stunfisk with residual energy wins the race, and we manage to take that game. Moving on to the next one. We see an awkward lead. Galarian Stunfisk in the lead is pretty tricky for this team, as if you switch it does take one turn, so the opponent would be ahead on energy. So Kaya choosing to play this one up. We shield up the rock side, go straight for the close combat, and the opponent doesn't respect it. They get one shot, they come in to the flying toilet, and Kaya, looking to get his shield back, fires off the close combat. We do get our shield back and we pivot out into Regi. The opponent is staying in. They fire off a weather ball for some chip damage, but that doesn't do too much to the super thick tin can. The opponent says, have weather ball number 2, and Regi says, no problem. However, Mr. Opponent, you can't tank the zap cannon. The opponent lets it go and they've got knocked out in the back, so this game looks as good as over. The opponent really should have shielded their Stunfisk. They did not, and they're going to be forced to pay. Regi tanks the Shadow Ball, returns fire with the Zap Cannon. The opponent commits the final shield. Kaya comes in. 2-star Raptor looking to sweep with the mighty Birdis, and bird on bird action. We shield up the Sky attack. Return fire with the Brave Bird, and Staraptor one shot for a very impressive dub. Stunfisk remains on the bench. So you can see we go 4-1 in the first set, despite a few misplays. Heading into set number 2, we see a Nightmare lead. Alolan Ninetales into Staraptor. We pivot out into Regi, and the opponent answers with Swampert. Regi gets us shield advantage. The opponent needs to go for the Earthquake. However, the opponent throws the Hydro Cannon. Regi shrugs it off, so the opponent is now forced to throw Hydro Cannon number 2. Kaya shields it up, knowing he can make the second Focus Blast. Is the opponent willing to double shield? Yes, they are. So Regi managing to get 2 shields off Swampert is absolutely beautiful. The opponent fires off one more Hydro Cannon. Kaya takes his shield advantage. He sends back out Staraptor. We are going to have to shield up the Hydro Cannon, as we would be getting near one shot. He goes straight for the close combat. Close combat sends Swampert back to their Pokeball. We pivot out into Stunfisk and its Sableye in the back. Stunfisk now looking primed to sweep. The opponent is unshielded, and Earthquake lands for big damage. The opponent can fire off a foul play, but Stunfisk pretty thick. We shrug it off. The opponent switch pretty late, so we actually win the race to the Rock Slide. Rock Slide knocks out Sableye. When Ninetales does return, they are going to have a tough time of charm farming us all the way down. Rock Slide hits for super effective damage. The opponent desperately going for the charm down, farm down. They actually fire off on 1 HP and a dream, and now Staraptor should be able to wing attack down and take this game. Nicely done. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the Flyers. Meta Kingpin Altaria versus Staraptor. Kaya doesn't fancy that matchup, so we pivot out into Stunfisk, and the opponent answers with the thick bunny Diggersby. They shrug the Earthquake off, super healthy in the green. Stunfisk doesn't tank the opponent's Earthquake particularly well. We're left deep in the red, and the opponent fires off the Fire Punch to make sure they don't get hit with another potential Earthquake. Kaya now comes back into Staraptor. The opponent makes the Fire Punch. Kaya does commit a shield. He now over farms, fires off the close combat on the CMP Titan. Fire Punch number 2. Close combat goes unshielded. We pivot out into Regi, and the opponent's got Azu in the back. This is looking pretty good for Regi despite being down shields. We fire off the Zap Cannon. Azumarill farms up to 7 bubbles. This could be a Hydro Pump. Kaya commits a shield, and it's a great shield as the opponent full sends the pump. Regi now fires off Zap Cannon, Number 2, looking to debuff the opponent. We do get the debuff and we draw the final shield, so this hydro pump isn't going to do all that much damage. We shrug it off. We are going to win the race. To the third zap cannon, we pivot out, banking it. The opponent then switches back out into Alteria. We fire off the Brave Bird, and holy smokes, Alteria gets near one shot. We wing attack farm them all the way down, and Staraptor makes another Brave Bird. Azu, super thick, however not thick enough, as that is an incredible close from the mighty Staraptor. You love to see it. The bad leads continue. We see Walrus, definitely something Staraptor doesn't want to see. We pivot out into Regi. The opponent farms up a boatload of energy. Send out Trevenant, however, as they switch. So late, this is a matchup we can definitely win. Kaya wanting to take back switch. We shield up the Shadow Ball. We're already at Zap Cannon. Number 2, is the opponent going to start investing shields? Yes, they are. We get another attack drop. This Trevenant now 2-stage debuff. We aren't going to shield the Shadow Ball, and you can see it doesn't do too much damage despite Trevenant being really attack weighted. We fire off Zap Cannon. Number 3, and the opponent choosing to double shield. Trevenant not wanting to get hit with another charge move, fires off the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb doesn't knock out. They get one more Shadow Claw. We come in to Staraptor. The opponent goes for the Wham Bam combo play, looking to snipe with the Icicle Sphere, so we pivot out into our Stunfisk. Stunfisk is going to take massive damage from the Earthquake, but not before we fire off a Rock Slide. The opponent is at the Earthquake. This isn't a Shadow Walrus, so we do survive. We are going to be able to outpace to the next Rock Slide. Rock Slide is going to take care of the Walrus. Can Staraptor one-shot something in the back? The opponent is waiting out their timer. They send back out Trevenant. Trevenant fires off the Seed Bomb. It's going to be a no-shielded Staraptor versus whatever they have. In the back, they have Registeel. Kaya at the back-to-back close combats. This first one won't knock out, but they are left deep in the red. So Kaya says, have another one, tin can. That vanquishes Regi back to their Pokeball, and one wing attack takes care of the Trevenant. Another very well played game. In the next battle, we see Metachan in the lead. That's actually a pretty good matchup for the opponent, not us, as counters. Our neutral and Ice Punch would do huge damage. The opponent choosing to pivot out into Lickitung. We go for the Focus Blast. Lickitung now deep in the red. However, Lickitung is known as Licky, far too thicky. This is going to be a very difficult lock-on farm down. The opponent firing off Power Whip after Power Whip. Kaya committing to the lock-on down. He's refusing to throw energy. The opponent banks a boatload of energy, pivoting out into Metachan. We fire off the Zap Cannon, which does get the debuff. We can now send out Staraptor, but still, we probably don't want to tank an Ice Punch. The opponent baits us with a Power-Up Punch, which is absolutely brutal. We do get the wing attack farm down. Back out comes Lickitung. We fire off the Close Combat. Close Combat draws a Protect Shield from the opponent. The opponent fires off the Body Slam. That takes us out. We come in to Stunfisk, Mud Shot down, and the opponent quickly concedes. I have no idea what's in the back, but whatever it is, they didn't want to see Stunfisk. Moving on to the next one. Another absolutely dreadful lead. Frostlass would be eating our Staraptor alive, so we pivot out into Stunfisk, and the opponent answers with a Spark Lantern. This is definitely flippable. We get the bait on the rock side. The opponent fired off the Surf. Kaya still not respecting the second Surf this time, not baiting, going straight for the Earthquake. Lantern lets it go. We Mud Shot down, so we've not only gained switch, we've got shield advantage as well. The little bear trap still not done. Makes the rock slide against the Frostlass. That gets them into the yellow. We can now send out Regi to absorb all of this energy. The opponent fires off the Shadow Ball, but Regi far too thick. It doesn't even get us into the yellow. The opponent fires off Shadow Ball number 2, and it looks like Kaya saving his shields for the bravest bird of them all, Staraptor. We fire off the Focus Blast. Focus Blast does knock out, and it is the battle of the flyers. However, we've got shield advantage, so Kaya can easily shield up the sky attacks from the knockdown. He can easily go for the back-to-back nukes. We fire off the close combat. Knockdown does respect it. Kaya now farms up to the brave bird, and it's going to be night night, sleep tight, knockdown, and a great way to close out a nice 5-0 set. Very nicely done. Moving on to the next one. We see Scrafty in the lead. The fighter that needs to pull its trails up. The opponent farms off boatload of energy, pivot out into Dugong. Kaya, you need to get out of it. We fire off the close combat, but I doubt we survive the Ice Shard. We do not. We lose our Staraptor, which is going to make getting rid of Scrafty really difficult. I think I would have banked all that energy and just pivoted out into Regi, but let's see if Kaya does recover. We fire off the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon gets Dugong deep into the yellow. The opponent just going for debuff central. I think if you're the Dugong, you want to throw Water Pulse, but it is what it is. Dugong fires off one more charge move, and it's another Icy Wind. This opponent loves the debuff. Regi committing to the lock-on farm down, not before. One more debuff Icy Wind. Doesn't do much. We're looking to pivot out into Stunfisk. However, Scrafty does enter the arena. We call the power-up punch. The opponent full sends the foul play. We've got the Focus Blast locked and loaded. The opponent tanks it as it is really debuffed. We come in to Stunfisk, get the mud shot farm down its Galvantula in the back. So despite us looking in a rough spot, this game is as good as over. This rock slide is going to land, getting the pesky spider deep in the red. Even if they go for an energy ball, it won't knock out from this range. It's just a lunge. The opponent is going to fire off one more lunge. At this stage, they're just wasting our time. Stunfisk shrugs it off, makes the final rock slide, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. We see the bravest bird of them all, Shadow Staraptor, into Regi. We pivot into Galarian Stunfisk. The opponent could outpace to a Focus Blast, however they build up some energy. Pivot out into the pesky tree Trevenant. We land the rock slide. It doesn't do too much to Trevenant. We need 3 to knock out. The opponent fires off the seed bomb. We fire off one more rock slide. The opponent commits a shield, and I think this is best case scenario for us. This again is a seed bomb. It won't knock out. However, it does leave us deep in the red. We fire off one more rock slide goes unshielded. We now snipe with Staraptor. Great play there from Kaya. The opponent sends back out Regi. However, we can shield up the Focus Blast, which is better for us. So we didn't get debuff. Kaya is going to now outpace to the back-to-back close combats. Is the opponent willing to shield it up? They are not. They get one shot. It's knocked out in the back. Staraptor looking to close. We fire off the close combat. Close combat goes unshielded. We fire off the next close combat. The opponent has no choice but to shield. We're getting a huge amount of lag. Maybe the opponent has quit, and apparently they have. Staraptor far too much. Moving on to the next one. We see the battle of the flyers. Pidgeot users love to shield, so I imagine the opponent shields this close combat. However, the opponent lets it go. Holy smokes, that does huge damage. We then pivot out to catch the charge move on Stunfisk. Really nicely done there from Kaya. The opponent now answers with Vigoroth. It looks like this Vigoroth is going to go straight body slam spam, not even building up to the bulldoze. Kaya goes straight for the Earthquake, and Vigoroth shrugs that off really nicely. As we are double debuff from the Feather Dance, we make Earthquake number 2, and we do draw a shield from the Vigoroth. Vigoroth does counter farm us all the way down, so this energy is going to be a problem. Kaya sends back out Staraptor. We do need to start shielding. A Staraptor doesn't tank moves particularly well. Kaya now double shielding Staraptor. It doesn't look like we can wing attack farm them all the way down, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count is 5 counters to each body slam, and we make a great catch. Catching a resisted body slam on our Registeel. We make the Focus Blast. Focus Blast should be knocking out. However, the opponent chooses to shield and go for the bulldoze. Bulldoze near takes us out. Vigoroth counters down is Staraptor with no shields versus the world. The opponent's got Sableye in the back. Sableye, not the bulkiest. Brave Bird going to vanquish Sableye back to their Pokeball. We're only one wing attack away from the close combat, and this is going to take care of Pidgeot. Yet another Staraptor sweep. Absolutely beautiful. Moving on to the next battle, we see Steelix in the lead. Absolutely dreadful, so we pivot out into Stunfisk, and the opponent answers with Gliscor. This, again, not fantastic. Rock Slide is neutral. The mud shots are resisted, and the opponent's got that huge one-shot potential with an Earthquake. The opponent sends a charge move, and they full YOLO the Earthquake, which vanquishes us back to our Pokeball. Kaya comes in with Staraptor looking for the farm down, but Gliscor makes one more charge move. We shield up the Night Slash wing attack farm all the way down. This Aurorus in the back. Holy smokes, the ABA weak to counter, but I think we're pretty much triple weak to counter. The opponent sends back out Steelix. Regi looking primed to sweep. We just got to be mindful of a potential Earthquake. We land the Focus Blast. Kaya commits the shield, and it is the Earthquake. Regi now lock on farms all the way down. Aurorus is going to come back, however they can only hit us for resisted. We fire off the Focus Blast does get a shield. The opponent probably going to throw the Meteor Beam, a pretty good move. However, Regi says, I am a steel type, that does fuck all. We fire off one more Focus Blast, and that is a good game. The Tin Can saying, Staraptor, let me have a sweep, you've done enough. Moving on to the next one. We see Jellicent in the lead. The opponent pivots out into Toxapex, and we've got a pretty good response with Stunfisk. Brine, pretty terrible. You can see just how little that does to the Bear Trap. We go straight for the Earthquake. Earthquake draws a shield from the Toxapex. Kaya doesn't need to shield this Brine, as the poison jabs are double resisted, and we're still very healthy in the yellow. Kaya fires off one more Earthquake. The opponent actually double shield him. The opponent really wants switch, however Kaya not going to allow that. We shield up the Brine. We are going to outpace to the Earthquake, so the opponent commits both shields, still loses switch. Toxapex gets one shot back out. Comes the Jellyfish not wanting to get hit with an Earthquake, fires off the Surf. Surf is a new move for Jellicent this season. It is pretty nice against stuff like Stunfisk and Talonflame. However, against Registeel, you do want to still go for Shadow Ball. The opponent does fire off the Shadow Ball. We fire off the Zap Cannon. The Jellyfish gets one shot, and it's Wallface in the back. Is close combat, gonna one shot. We fire it off, and Wallface survives on 1 HP and a dream. However, this game is over, and the opponent concedes the match. And we pull off another 5-0. So very well played there from Kaya in the first set. When he first used the team, he was making a few misplays, but towards the end, he was really cooking, getting some really impressive dubs and some great Shadow Staraptor footage. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on the channel. A link to our battle submission form is down below. I'd just like to say thanks for watching and see you all in the next one.